Well, here's a good story, and this is from the New York Times. When you get back from the weekend on Monday, the president is going to announce that he is enacting legislation through executive authority for cap and trade, which will be adopted by the EPA. So cap and trade, I guess that would mean, since it's going to go into effect on Monday, I guess that means that the House voted on it, and it passed it, and then they sent it to the Senate, and then the Senate passed it, and now I guess it's sitting at the president's desk waiting for signature. Well, no, that's how they did things during the first 43 presidents. Not this guy. This would be legislation that was put in forth into act back in 2010. It died in the Democrat Senate. The bill died in the Democrat-led Senate back in 2010, and so you let it sit for a couple of years. So now Obama will walk to the Rose Garden on Monday and just announce that he thinks it's a good idea. And after all, he's had such a great track record, so he will sign it into law, and now it'll be adopted by the EPA. Absolutely unbelievable what this guy gets away with. Hello, how are you? Welcome. I am the young Republican Jeff Harbaugh, and I still, for the life of me, I can't understand how he continues to get away with just doing whatever he wants. I mean, in a way, it almost blows my mind. And let me tell you why this is a bad idea. Number one, last month we just received a report that electricity rates are the highest they've ever been. Two, let's take a listen to Obama words. Not mine. Let's listen to Obama's words, and here is his plan for energy.
Under my plan of a cap and trade system, electricity rates would necessarily skyrocket.
And some of the utility companies, even in this article, they even mentioned, well, you know what, they think it's a good idea. Well, number one, let me just tell you this. The big utility companies, one, they have a monopoly. Two, it's just like Obamacare. Who do you think the 1,600 waivers in Obamacare went to? It went to the big companies. The big companies that actually create the majority of the greenhouse gases, as we hear about anyway, they're not even going to have to pay attention to this law. So number one, like a lot of these regulations, the actual thing that they're trying to change, first of all, that usually is a lie, as is here. But the actual outcome, if you're actually trying to really cut the greenhouse gases, you know that the big companies, the big utility companies, the big energy companies, they're not going to abide by this. So it's not even going to have that outcome. And two, all it will do, like everything else they touch, it will drive up energy cost and it'll drive up utility cost. Just like healthcare. Just like healthcare. The final quarter of 2013, a 5.6% raise in healthcare spending. Highest that we've seen in 10 years. First quarter of 2014. Now it's up 6.1% off of the 5% from back in 2013. Historic levels of rising in healthcare spending. And now they're going to enact cap and trade, and the same exact thing will happen. The same exact big companies will get waivers, and it's nothing more than a tax. Now, the article also goes on to say that the cap and trade will cut production in coal. It'll make it harder for the production of new coal plants, and it ultimately will end up in the closing of hundreds of coal plants in the country. So that must be the Tom Steyer angle on this, because I knew anytime there is any green energy that's going on now, as the speech that happened on the floor for 24 hours, or the report that was released a couple weeks ago by Barry at the White House, anything that happens that's related to climate change and the environment, remember, there's always the Tom Steyer angle. And if you don't know who Tom Steyer is, that is the billionaire from California, hedge fund guy that had Al Gore and Harry Reid at his house back in February of this year, gave him a check for $400,000 and said there'll be $100 million to follow as long as you stop the Keystone Pipeline. And you can remember the Democrats that responded very quickly a couple weeks after that. They did that stupid 24-hour up all night for climate change, whatever it was. They spoke throughout the entire night about climate change and global warming. And Tom Steyer responded with, well, that's not enough. He liked it. He likes the awareness, but he's going to need some action on that. So if you're going to get that $100 million to try and save the Senate, you're going to have to do more than that. So I think that must be what this is, because I look at the coal plants there, and it's interesting to know that Tom Steyer, who is a big anti-coal guy here, he owns billions of shares in companies in Indonesia and Australia that produce coal there. I just think that's something that's kind of important and relevant to the conversation. So I wonder if this has something to do with this whole cap and trade. Sure looks like another thing that is going to benefit Tom Steyer, because the less coal plants there are here, and you can't produce any new coal plants here, I have to think that the foreign coal, that's going to be even better for him. So there's always a Tom Steyer angle. He's a good guy to look into anytime there is any climate change discussion or global warming. And he's left the hedge fund as well, because he is going to focus on politically. I think it was his philanthropy work that he said, but politically. And this guy has aspirations to run for office, which I hope happens. And I really hope that he ends up being the next governor of California. And that's a good chance that he may be, because this will be the guy, because he's not stupid. Let's remember that. You don't become a billionaire without being stupid. He's not honest. I think it's very easy to come up with that opinion of him. I think it's pretty easy to see that. But he's not stupid. And he will run for governor of California. I can already tell you the campaign right now. He's going to run on the climate change, and then he's going to run on the fact that, you know, California has the financial problems, and he's going to be the business guy. Yeah, he's a billionaire. He knows how to fix it. And actually what's going to happen is he is going to rob that state blind. Wait until you see how he gets involved with that high-speed rail and the rest of these ridiculous global warming regulations. He will be the final nail in the coffin that drives that state to bankruptcy. And I am openly rooting for California to go bankrupt. I don't hide that. Oh, my God, I can't believe that. No, I think it's a good thing for California to go bankrupt, and it needs to happen. Number one, the current path that they're on, it's unsustainable. It can't keep up. I mean, they still have major financial problems, and look at how much they just raised the taxes on rich people in California. Not to mention, almost every agency is on furlough. It can't go on. It can't keep up. And then they have things like the high-speed rail, which is tens of billions of dollars for a useless high-speed rail that you don't even need. And when it's done, it's predicted to lose between $200 and $400 million a year. It's a great investment, isn't it? So I am rooting for California to fail, because it's going to happen eventually. The quicker it happens, the less it's going to have to be bailed out by the federal government, which is us. And I think it's a good thing to point out and a good example to see. Look at what happens when you have a one-party rule, and that's all California is. It's extreme left. When they have absolute power, look at what happens, and think about all the rich people you have in California. And it's still not enough to be able to get out of the problems that they have. That's the big thing. You have Silicon Valley, which is the tech capital of the world, and then you have Hollywood, which is the film capital of the world. Basically, probably the entertainment capital of the world. So you have all those ridiculously high-paid employees, actors, billionaire CEOs, and even with that, it's not enough to be able to withstand these ridiculous liberal policies. So, no, I think it's a good thing that California goes bankrupt. I'm rooting for it, and I think that Tom Steyer, he's my man. I think he's the guy that can actually get the job done. So, just I knew there had to be a Tom Steyer angle in this as well.